हरिः ओम्। ॐ गं गणपतये नमः। ॐ गुं गुरुभ्यो नमः। ॐ सरस्वत्यै नमः। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनो भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति। हरिः ओम् ईश्वरार्पणमस्तु। Hari Om. So what I thought today, going by the questions, comments, and some notes that I saw, I thought today we will recap what we have discussed in the last two sessions, because both the sessions were quite information heavy, and some of the concepts are new for many of you. So we'll go through those sessions to recap and then proceed further, so that our understanding of who really I am is very clear, it's crystal clear. So as we saw, Advaita Vedanta's position is that there is one and only non-dual reality, which is Brahman, of the nature of existence, consciousness, bliss. And Brahman is infinite, eternal, all-pervading, unassociated, unmoving, indivisible, non-doer, and so many other aspects. And unmanifest. An unmanifest power of Brahman is Maya, which Brahman manifests. Why does Brahman manifest it? We took two examples earlier. A painter painting, because painter has the ability to paint or the talent to paint. So he paints just for the sake of painting. Or a singer singing just for himself, just because he has the talent, he sings. We'll take one more example today, which possibly will make a little more sense for everyone. You take a child to a beach, and what does the child do? Child makes a sandcastle. Why does the child make a sandcastle? Is he going to live in it? Is he going to sell it? Child makes a castle just because that creative power is there in the child, and child just wants to express it. So we see this in life, that the child makes a sandcastle and then he protects it. You try to do something to the castle, he'll shoo you away. Shh, keep away. So he protects it, maintains it. And when it is time to go home, what does the child do? Jump all over it, demolish it. He makes it, protects it, that is, sustains it, and demolishes it. Now, while demolishing, does he have any regret? He actually feels happy demolishing. Just as he felt happy building it, he feels happy demolishing it. So, Brahman manifesting Maya to create the universe is something similar. Examples will always have some limitations, they will not be exact, but they explain the concept. The concept is exactly similar, that Brahman manifests Maya to create the universe just for the sake of creating universe. Now, we saw that Maya has, now Brahman with Maya, we call him Ishwar. That's what Vedanta calls him, so we call him Ishwar. So Ishwar is Brahman with Maya manifest. So Ishwar has got two aspects, Brahman and Maya. Brahman is the sentient aspect, Maya is the matter aspect. So Ishwar has got both these aspects, sentiency, and matter, which are both going to be required for creating the universe. Maya, as we saw, has three gunas or three qualities: sattva, rajas, and tamas. And Maya has two powers: power of veiling, that is avaran, it's called in Sanskrit, and power of projecting something which is not there, which we call vikshepa. So Maya has three gunas, sattva, rajas, and tamas, has two powers: power of veiling, avaran, and power of projecting, vikshepa. Using these gunas and in the presence of Ishvara, Maya creates the universe. Now, mind you, Maya's power of veiling and projecting does not impact Ishvara, because Maya is Ishvara's power. So Maya's powers cannot affect Ishvara. So Ishvara doesn't come under ignorance because of veiling, does not come under delusion because of vikshepa. Ishvara remains unaffected. Now, in the presence of Ishvara, Maya creates the universe. How does it do? We saw it's a sequential process. It first creates 5 subtle elements. We call them tanmatras: space, air, fire, water, and earth. But the subtle elements, not the gross elements that we see, the subtle elements, the principles behind them. And from the sattvic aspects of these 5 subtle elements, Maya creates 5 jnanendriyas or sense faculties. And from the sattvic aspect of all the subtle elements put together, it creates what is called antahakarana, which is mind, intellect, memory, and ego. In Sanskrit, we call that as manas, buddhi, chitta, and ahankara. So Maya creates five universal sense faculties, powers, creates universal mind comprising of these 4 aspects. From the rajasic aspect of these gunas, of these elements, subtle elements, Maya creates 5 karmendriyas, that is the 5 action faculties, creates 5 pranas called pancha prana, which are the physiological faculties, physiological function capabilities. And from the tamasic aspect of these subtle elements, through a grossification process, it produces 5 gross elements: space, air, fire, water, and earth, in a physical form, which is perceptible, which we can perceive. So at this stage, the stage of gross elements, perception starts. We can perceive it. The subtle elements are not perceptible. So having created these 24 building blocks, Maya then creates the universe. So the gross universe created by Maya is Ishvara's gross body. The total subtle elements and the faculties, that is jnanendriyas, antakarana, karmendriyas, all put together are pranas, all put together are the subtle body of Ishvara. And as we saw, there is also a causal body, because all this comes out of something. All these were earlier unmanifest and they became manifest. As I explained earlier, there is nothing called creation in Vedanta. It is always manifestation of the unmanifest, because if it is not there in unmanifest form earlier, it cannot come about. You cannot create something out of nothing. Whatever you create has to be there in an unmanifest form. Like, let's say if I want to create something, I want to create a building, let us say. First, the idea and the plan has to be in my mind. So the plan of the building will first be in my mind. Then it'll come down on paper. And from paper, it'll go to physical level. So it has to be first in unmanifest form in my mind, then manifest step by step. Similarly, is this process of manifestation. So the unmanifest stage is Maya. So Maya aspect is the causal body of Ishvara. So Ishvara has three bodies: gross body, which is the gross cosmos; the subtle body, which is all the subtle elements, indriyas, pranas, manas, antakarana, all put together; and causal body is Maya itself. Now, with the gross body of Ishvara is also called, we talked about, as Brahmand or Virat. The subtle body of Ishvara is also called Hiranyagarbha. These are phrases that you will hear later on, so that if you want to make a note, you can make a note, so that you can refer back to understand what it means. So these words will come later on. So the gross body of Ishvara is called Brahmand, cosmos, or Virat. The subtle body of Ishvara is called Hiranyagarbha, and the causal body is called Maya aspect of Ishvara. The Ishvara or Maya, it's referred to both ways. Now, using various permutations and combinations of these 24 building blocks, Maya also creates the constituents of the universe. So 840 million types of creatures, materials, which you call that 84 crore yonis, as we call it typically in Hindi. So this 840 million is what Vedanta talks about. Modern science calculation comes somewhere close to it. It's not too far. So this is created by various combinations of permutations of these elements. Human bundle is the only one which has all of them in full form, in full scope. All other creatures and all other materials have some aspects of it or limited aspects of it. The general difference is always in the intellect. It's only in human being that intellect is available in full measure. All other species, intellect keeps reducing as you go down the hierarchy. That is the main aspect that makes a difference. But there are other faculties also that make a difference, that may be there in different measures. So Maya creates this variety, plurality as a part of the universe. Now, this is what we call as Jagat. This is universe created by Maya, which is an aspect of Ishvara. So you can say Ishvara created Jagat through Maya. So this is the natural universe called Jagat. Now, after creating this, Ishvara puts in place some laws, rules, systems that will govern the functioning of this Jagat. In Sanskrit, it's called rhythm. The universal laws, rules, and systems is called rhythm in Sanskrit. And not only Ishvara puts in place these systems, rules, and laws, Ishvara also appoints certain deities, we call devatas, in charge of various aspects of these rules and systems and laws, like Surya, Vayu, Agni, Vayu Devata, Agni Devata, Varuna Devata, Surya Devata, Yama Devata. So various deities which are aspects of Ishvara alone, as we saw earlier. In different modes, the same Ishvara is known by different names. The scope and the powers keep reducing as you go down the hierarchy, but it is the same. There are different aspects of the same Ishvara. So Ishvara puts in place all these deities and devatas in charge of these functions and these systems and rules, etc., so that they function without any hassles, any hurdles at all. So this is what is called Jagat, universe, or whatever else you want to call it. Now, all this is at the totality level, at the total level, universal level. At the individual level, when you come to these 840 million types of creatures which are there, when you come to individual level, individual creature is referred to as Jiva. The totality is referred to as Jagat. The individual entity is referred as Jiva. Now, I can see some difference in people's understanding about what is Jiva, what is Jivatma, etc. So let me repeat this. The technically correct definition of Jiva is 3 bodies combined with associated Atman. Atman that is associated with these 3 bodies. So that is the correct technical definition. Conditioned Atman with 3 bodies. That is Jiva. However, you will come across this word being used for multiple, referring to multiple entities, and you will have to go by the context. Pay attention to the context and you'll understand what is meant by Jiva here. So sometimes Jiva will be used for just the subtle body. Sometimes Jiva will be used only for the 3 bodies without the Atman. Atman will be referred to as Jivatma and 3 bodies will be referred to as Jiva. So which reference is being made, you will have to understand in the context that it is being referred to. Now, which are these 3 bodies of Jiva? We'll recount. One is a gross body made from the gross elements, the gross 5 elements is the gross body of Jiva. Different types of bodies depending on which Jiva it is. It is made of gross matter. It comes into existence at a certain time. It gets destroyed at another time. So gross body is subject to manifestation and destruction. In the meantime, it goes through various phases of, as we saw, exists, takes birth, grows, saturates, declines, and then destroys. So there are various stages it passes through. We see this in our own case, that the body comes into existence and then goes through its various phases, and then ultimately it is destroyed. So this is the gross body. Now, gross body is the house that the subtle body and causal body live in. So it's like a vehicle, it's like a house. You own a house for a certain time, you use a vehicle for a certain time. So same way the subtle body and causal body is going to use this gross body for a certain time. Why does this gross body come into existence? How long does it stay? Is governed by a rule, by a system, which will come when we discuss Karma Siddhanta. Karma Siddhanta governs why this gross body comes into existence and why subtle body comes to dwell in it. So subtle body and causal body dwell in it. Now, what does subtle body comprise of? 5 Jnanendriyas, that is sense faculties. 5 Karmendriyas, that is action faculties. 5 Pranas, physiological functions. And 4-part Antakarana, that is mind, intellect, memory, and sense of individuality, ahankara or ego, as you call it. So subtle body comprises these 19 elements. Some people refer to them as 17, some people refer to them as 19. When they refer to 17, what they are doing is in memory, they are merging with mind memory, they are merging with intellect, and ahankara, they are merging with manas, and counting other antakarana only 2. So this is subtle body. And then there is also this causal body. which is the cause of both these bodies, the gross body as well as the subtle body, and which is also the cause of them coming together. Causal body has two aspects. First is ignorance of the real nature, and the second is it comprises of the vasanas and karma of the individual. Vasanas and karmas right now, it is for you to make a note of. We will see them in detail when we discuss those topics. We'll be discussing vasana as a topic. We'll be discussing karma as a topic. But right now, make a note of it. Now, specific features of subtle body we discussed that day. Let me recount some of them, not all, which are relevant. First is subtle body being subtle. It is not perceptible. You can see effects of the subtle body, but you can't see the body itself. Presence of mind, you can see the effects as thoughts and emotions, but you can't see the mind itself. You can see brain, but not mind. You cannot see the intellect. You can see the effect of it, decision-making, analysis, ideation, so many other things. But you will see only effects, not them, because they are subtle. They're made of matter, but subtle matter. They are the instrument of experience. As I explained that the gross body has these sense organs. To take, for example, the eye as an organ, subtle body has the vision faculty. And when subtle body enters gross body, it expands and the respective faculties enter the respective organs, and then perception starts. So each faculty, each organ that we have has got a faculty behind it, which is a part of the subtle body, and the organ by itself is the part of the gross body. So while the gross body receives all the sensations from outside, input from outside, it's the subtle body that experiences it. Both the sense organs as well as the mind, both together. If mind is not the only subtle sense, the only sense is there, sense faculty is there, you will not experience. Like I may look, but I may not see. Input is coming in, but mind is not attached to it, so I don't see. It doesn't register. Or I hear, but I don't listen, which happens all the time. So it's the combination of sense faculty and mind that experiences. So experience takes place at the subtle body level, and the sense faculties and mind are the instruments of experience. Gross body is only the entry point for the sensory inputs. Now, this point again, I saw some differences in understanding. When does birth happen and when does death happen? Birth is that event when a subtle body enters a gross body. Subtle body and causal body come together and they enter a gross body. That is called birth. And death is when the subtle body and causal body leave the gross body. Once the gross body becomes useless for the subtle body and the causal body, they leave that body, and that we call death. So death is that of the gross body. Birth is that of the gross body. Subtle body and causal body are already there. They come to live in this and then go out again. So death is subtle body and causal body coming out of gross body, not Atman. We have not even come to Atman yet. So it's the separation of subtle body and causal body from the gross body, which is death. And it is the joining of the two together, that is entry of the subtle body and causal body into a gross body, which is birth. That time the gross body may be in a minute form, and then it'll grow later. But only when the union takes place, birth takes place. Now, when subtle body comes out of the gross body, it travels from one gross body to another gross body. So it may travel from one gross body to another gross body immediately, or it may remain as a suspended unit for some time and then take a new gross body. That depends again, as I said, that we will discuss when we discuss karma as a theory, as a Siddhanta, because it all gets covered there. So when it comes out in a seed form. Causal body is always in a seed form. Subtle body also folds up. When it is in gross body, it has expanded itself. When leaving, it folds up, अपने आप को समेट लेता है. It folds up, becomes a seed, and with the causal body leaves, and remains as a unit outside a gross body. Now, you can understand that there will be multiple subtle bodies outside a gross body. Because there are so many jivas, so many people, so many jivas die, the subtle body leaves. So there are multiple subtle bodies outside gross bodies. There are multiple subtle bodies inside gross bodies. There are two stages. Now, how does the system make sure that the subtle bodies don't get mixed up? How do the identification of the subtle body remain? This entity called ego, ahankara, sense of individuality, you can take that to be your universal Aadhaar number. So that number is printed on this bundle that is coming out of your gross body, the subtle body causal body bundle in a seed form, but it has its own unique identity, so that the different packages of subtle body causal bodies do not mix up. You remain you. The next birth for you, the same subtle body will go in, not a different subtle body. This is an infallible system which is in place. And as I said, causal body goes along, and causal body carries vasanas and karmas. So now what has left the body and what is remaining in suspended form is Sukshma Sharira, that is subtle body, Karana Sharira, that is causal body, and vasanas and karma. Vasanas and karma are a part of the causal body in any case. So this is what is outside the body of gross body. All these are inert in nature because they all come from Maya. The gross body, the subtle body, vasanas, karma, causal body, everything is inert. They come from Maya. Maya is matter. What provides sentiency is Atman. What is Atman? Atman is nothing but Brahman viewed from an individual's perspective. So Brahman is viewed from totality's perspective. Viewed from an individual perspective, same Brahman is known as Atman. How many Atmans are there? As many as Brahman. How many Brahmans are there? Non-dual, one and only. Mind you, there are other philosophies which say there are multiple Atmas. There's a philosophy, there's a darshana called Samkhya or Yoga. Now, Samkhya and Yoga say that every individual has a separate Atman. So there are multiple Atmans, not one single Atman like Advaita Vedanta. It's Advaita Vedanta's position that there's only one Brahman, and Atman is nothing but the same Brahman viewed from an individual perspective. So there's only one Atman. If there is only one Atman, how is it in so many jivas? That's a question that will arise, correct? And in a single entity, how is there in so many jivas? Now, we saw that how it can be the other day with an example. We took the example of the sun. How many suns? One sun. But we can have millions of buckets of water, and the same sun can reflect in those buckets of water. There are millions of reflections, but the original is only one. So through reflection, it can enter multiple jivas. So what is there in jiva is the reflection of the original Atma. Let's take a contemporary example. We'll take another contemporary example. We use this mobile phone every day. Mobile phone, if you notice, has three components. There is this instrument. Instrument is like the gross body. The instrument are of different types. There is a very basic instrument, and there's a very highly equipped instrument which has got lots of features. Now, this is the difference in gross bodies are different features. There's a very basic telephone body, and there's a very high feature telephone body. These are differences in the different types of bodies. So the instrument of the mobile phone is the gross body. It can do nothing unless there's something called a SIM card, whether it is eSIM card or a gross SIM card, which is a new concept. But unless there's a SIM card inside it, the instrument is not usable. That SIM card is the subtle body equivalent. But again, just the instrument and the SIM card, you can do very little with it. You need another entity, which is the network. Assuming there's only one network, there are not these multiple service providers, there's only one service provider, one universal service provider. How many networks will be there? One network. But the same network is available in various SIM cards. It is not that that one network pieces have been broken away and put into different SIM cards. The SIM card is only connecting to that network. Same way, the subtle body in me, in this gross body, is connecting to the Atman through a reflection process. Just as the same network reflects into the SIM card and through the SIM card into the instrument, the same way that Brahman or Atman reflects into the subtle body and through the subtle body into the gross body, and the subtle body and gross body become sentient. Right? So is this clear? One Atman, millions or zillions of reflections, depending on how many subtle bodies are there in the gross bodies. Now, there can be gross bodies without subtle bodies, like rocks, like objects. Because they don't have subtle body, Atman cannot manifest in there, and that's why they do not show sentiency, because of the absence of subtle body. It's only subtle body that can reflect Atman, and particularly in the subtle body, intellect, which is the purest sattva. Intellect is the purest and subtlest element that we have in our system, and it's like a mirror. So by default, wherever there is intellect in manifest form, Atman reflection will automatically happen. It is not that it has to apply and the Atman has to grant it. It's automatic. Because there is a reflecting medium, reflection will automatically happen. If the reflecting medium is not there, or has gone into seed form, or has gone away, reflection will not happen. So when subtle body or intellect is in gross body, reflection through the subtle body into the gross body makes the unit sentient. The moment subtle body leaves, the reflection is also gone. It is not that Atma is left. Subtle body is left. And because subtle body is left, the reflection of Atman in subtle body has also left. The gross body has become insentient. Right? Is the concept clear now? That it is gross body, subtle body, and one Atman reflecting into multiple subtle bodies, and through that making multiple jivas sentient. And when the subtle body departs from the gross body becomes insentient. Subtle body in unmanifest or in seed form continues to reflect very minimally, trace amount of reflection, and it continues to remain outside and still being capable of, it retains very trace amount of sentiency, to be able to move in and out of bodies. So this is how the system works. This we also saw in the case of the bucket and the sun, that if the bucket is broken and the water drains out, the reflection is gone. That's exactly what death is. Okay, so now we have these three bodies. We have the reflected consciousness in it. And now the three bodies are sentient. This bundle is Jiva. Three bodies, which can also be regrouped as five sheaths, five koshas as we saw, with reflected consciousness in it, is Jiva. Because this reflected consciousness is associated with the bodies. Original consciousness, original Atman is not. Now, when reflection takes place, is it only consciousness that is reflecting? No. All three aspects of Brahman, existence, consciousness, and Ananda, that is bliss, are reflecting into the Jiva package. Existence is reflecting by, you can see that Jiva exists. The existence principle reflecting to Jiva makes the Jiva exist. Consciousness reflection in the Jiva makes the Jiva aware, sentient, and the Jiva becomes aware. The Ananda aspect also reflects in the Jiva, and you see it in different levels in different phases of awareness. Now we will come to that. This Jiva goes through three phases of awareness in 24 hours. One is the waking phase. In waking stage, all the three bodies are functional. The gross body is functional, the subtle body is functional, the causal body is there. Causal body doesn't do anything, it's always in an unmanifest form, but causal body is there, is active. Now, in this phase, the bliss aspect reflects occasionally. So you go through the phases of happiness, sorrow, joy, elation. This elation, joy, happiness, etc. are that principle reflecting. Why is it not reflecting all the time? The hurdle is the mind. If the mind is absolutely still, it will be happiness. But unfortunately, it's the nature of mind to be oscillating, vacillating. It cannot remain still. So when the mind is oscillating and vacillating, you are not able to experience that bliss. But mind is perfectly quiet, you will feel bliss, which you see in the phase of deep sleep. When you go into deep sleep, the mind is absolutely still, mind is actually resolved, mind is not even, not active. What do you experience? Is there anybody who does not experience bliss in deep sleep? The reflection of the bliss aspect of Atman into this bundle becomes very clearly, gets very clearly experienced in the deep sleep state because the mind has resolved. So it is the mind that comes in the way of your experiencing bliss all the time. It gives you those glimpses. The moment it quietens, you feel it, you see it. The moment agitation starts, you don't feel it. Mind remains constantly agitating, not agitating. So you feel it sometimes, you don't feel it sometimes. Yeah. Now, Revati has a question that we don't experience anything in deep sleep. Yeah. In deep sleep, so I'll come to those three phases of awareness. So waking stage, awareness is full blown, so you're experiencing it, right? In deep sleep, what happens is the subtle body goes into dormant phase. Because the subtle body goes into dormant phase, the consciousness aspect, which is reflecting in intellect, also goes into dormant phase. So you don't experience anything. However, that dormancy is not 100%. A trace amount of activity, trace amount of subtle body remains active. And that is why after the deep sleep, you are able to recall that I was happy, that I felt happiness. You are able to recall what happened at that time. You're not able to say that, or you're not able to express that at that time because the subtle body is become dormant. All the sense faculties have become dormant. So even your expression faculties have become dormant, so you can't express it. But you are witnessing it, that trace amount of reflected consciousness is witnessing it. And after you come out of the deep sleep, you are able to say, you are able to say two things. I experienced nothing. I knew nothing. And I experienced bliss. I experienced happiness. All of us have a recall of happiness in deep sleep. And that's why we want, everyone dies to get that deep sleep. You don't get deep sleep two nights and you are in trouble. You die for it. But that experience of bliss is like a recharge. So a trace amount is still there. Why is that trace amount still there? Of the subtle body still there? It is for the safety of the gross body. Let's say I am in deep sleep and there's flood. I would die because I'm in deep sleep. I don't know. But the moment water touches the body, I wake up. So the trace amount of subtle body which is active experiences the touch of the water, and it wakes up. It becomes manifest. Or if you shake that person, the person wakes up. So the sensory function remains active in a very trace form for the protection of the body. Other than that, it is completely dormant. That's why you have no experience of the world. You have no experience of anything other than just the awareness of nothingness and awareness of happiness. That's all. So this jiva goes through these two phases. And the third phase of awareness is the dream phase. So in waking phase, all three bodies are active. In deep sleep stage, two bodies are inactive. Only causal body is still there. And causal body is the one, and the trace amount of reflected consciousness, which ensures continuity. So the person who goes into deep sleep is the same person who comes out of deep sleep. If deep sleep was a complete resolution, you will have no memory of your individuality prior to deep sleep. It's the same person. When you come out of deep sleep, the same memories come back, the same identity comes back, the same thing comes back. So it is only dormant, not destroyed. Causal body always remains in place. There's another phase called dream phase. In dream phase, gross body is inactive, but subtle body and causal body are active. Because gross body is inactive, the sensory functions of the subtle body are inactive. Subtle body is also not active fully. The antarkarana is active, but the sensory faculties, action faculties are dormant. Mind you, in deep sleep also, one aspect of subtle body continues to function, and that is the pancha pranas. Pancha pranas are also part of the subtle body. The physiological functions, they remain active throughout. If you remember that's what I mentioned when I talked about physiological functions, that from birth to death, those functions remain active throughout. They never stop. They will stop only on death. So even in deep sleep, that aspect of subtle body continues to function. Plus sensory functions become dormant. 99.999% you can say. Very trace amount remains active. In dream stage also, sensory functions remain dormant. Action faculties remain dormant. Panchaprana continue to function. But mind continues to function fully. And mind projects up, because the external world is not there, mind projects its own world. Because as I said, mind cannot stay without experiences. So mind creates its own. So whatever you went through in your waking phase got recorded. The same thing that got recorded, mind plays it. But when mind plays it plays it all jumbled up. So there is no logic, there's no rationality, there's no continuity in dream. Dream will have everything jumbled up, all your impressions, all your memories, all your impressions, everything that you let's say registered in the waking phase will get all mixed up and will come up as a dream. So these are three phases that human being goes through, the jiva goes through. Now, one question that should arise, and if it's not arisen, I'll raise it for you, is this reflection of Atman into Sukshma Sharira or subtle body, is it a conjecture? Or how do you say this happens? What is the proof that this happens? So let me demonstrate that to you right away. When I am talking to you, there's something in me that is aware that I am talking to you. When you are listening to me, there's something inside you which is aware that you are listening to me. You are listening, you are doing your function, but there's something in you which is aware that you are listening. And that's something, what is it doing? It's only witnessing. It is not participating in your listening. It is not participating in my talking. It is just there, aware of what is going on as a witness. That is the reflection of the Atman in you. An example which you can, if you pay attention, you will be able to decipher that yes, in me, apart from these three bodies and the reflect and the sentiency, there is this element which is constantly only aware. So even in deep sleep, that entity is still aware of your experience of nothing and experience of happiness. Nothingness and happiness. These are only two things that you experience at that time. So this is the reflected consciousness which is there in you. And we all can decipher that the moment we pay attention to it. Till I pointed out to you, you didn't pay attention to it. But now that you pay attention, you'll be able to clearly make out there is something in me that is watching, that is only witnessing, not participating. And the only thing it does all through is witnessing. However, it's only in its presence that I am able to do whatever I am able to do. If that was not there, I would be a dead body. That is the reflection of the consciousness principle, Atman. Right? Now, the names for this reflected consciousness in Sanskrit, because these will again come up. So let me give you these names. Please make a note. You'll come across these. It's called Chidabhasa. Chidabhasa means, Chit means consciousness. Abhasa means reflection. Reflection of consciousness is called Chidabhasa. Chit Abhasa becomes Sandhi. Sandhi, when you join together, it becomes Chidabhasa. Or it is called Antaratma. Or it's called Pratyagatma. Many of these phrases you will hear sometime and later on. So you should be able to correlate that what it is referring to is Chidabhasa or Antaratma or Pratyagatma. There are many other names, but these are three common names that are used for this. Okay. Now, the actual I, the real I, is that one Atman. The actual I is that real Atman. And it reflects here, but it stays unaffected, it stays ever present, everywhere. So the right statement for you should be, I am the Atman with bodies. Contrary to what we normally say, that I am this bundle of bodies and I have a soul, I have an Atman. It's the other way around. So Atman is the real me. Now, how do I claim this? Just as reflected consciousness, you need to be questioning as to how do you say that there's reflection taking place. Now this question, you should also be questioning, how do I say that this, I am the real Atman? Now, in the very first class, we talked about Vedanta says don't believe things without testing them. There are 3 tests to be applied. First test is that does Upanishad say it? Shruti. Upanishads, as we know is Shruti. Does Shruti say that it is so and so? This is the case. Yes, Shruti says that this is the case, not one place, multiple places. We will see it when we come to discussing what is called Shravan. But Upanishads say it repeatedly that you are that Atman. The second test to be applied is that of Yukti, that is of logic. Revati has another question.
Sorry if I'm interrupting you. We can do the questions later, Vinodji.
Yeah, we can do. Actually, we should do that later on.
Yeah.
But since you raised this question, let me ask.
Yeah.
Firstly, you still have a little bit of confusion. It is not Atma. Your question was, when does Atman lose that barcode? Atma is not the one carrying the barcode. It's the subtle body carrying the barcode.
Understand. Okay.
Atma is only one, and it is reflecting in the subtle body. It's the subtle body that carries that barcode. It never loses. That is why, because it has to move from one body to another body. There's only one situation in which it loses, and that is the objective of our getting into spiritual journey. At the end of the journey, we are supposed to reach what is called moksha. When you reach moksha, the subtle body itself disappears because it gets merged into totality. And because the subtle body gets merged into totality, there is no individual subtle body anymore. That barcode drops. So it does not drop on death. After death, it actually carries on so that in the next birth, the same subtle body goes. That barcode or other number, whatever you want to call it. So that continues with the subtle body till you reach the stage of realization, liberation, moksha, whatever you want to call it. Only at that stage, this is dropped, till that stage it continues. Okay, coming back to the other question. So we said 3 tests to be applied. First is, does Shruti say it? Yes, Upanishads repeatedly say it. They shout from the top of the roofs that you are that Atman. Second is logic. Does logic prove that, yes, I am that real thing? I am that Atman? Now, if you remember, we classified reality into 3. Sat, Mithya, Asat. Right? And what is the definition of Brahman? Eternal, infinite, ever-existing, all-pervasive. And what was the definition of Sat? That which exists ever in all 3 states of all 3 time periods: past, present, future. What is Brahman? Eternal, all periods of time. Existence itself. The existence principle itself is Brahman. Right? We discussed this. So the definition of real itself is something that exists at all times. And the only thing that exists at all times is Brahman, Atman. So Atman is the only reality. Brahman is the only reality. That's why I am Brahman. In Mithya, we saw that there were 2 aspects. So the bundle is Mithya. There are 2 aspects, that is what that classifies that Mithya, or we call it unreal. One is either that it is apparent, but when we inquire into it, it is not there. or the existence is temporary and dependent, temporary or dependent. If the existence is temporary or dependent, then it is not real. Bodies have temporary and dependent existence, all the three bodies. And that's why they are not real. Whereas Atman has independent, eternal existence. That's why it's real. That's why I am that Atma. Now, let me give you, so this is second test, logic. The third test was Anubhuti. Do I also experience that way? I am not able to experience that right now, but there have been many people who have experienced it and stated so. I'll narrate to you the example of Gautam Buddha. Gautam Buddha, when he attained nirvana and came out of that deep meditation, people kept asking him, what did you see? What did you experience? What did you see? And he simply kept quiet. He refused to say anything. But when he was pressed very hard, he finally narrated to some extent. And what he said was that what I experienced is that this body and this world are nothing but impulses, waves, vibrations arising and dying at the speed of, at a speed that in the time that I blink my eyes, they have arisen and died at the rate of Shat Sahasra Koti times. Now, what is Shat? Shat is 100. Sahasra is 1,000. Koti is crore. So 100,000 crore times these impulses, waves, vibrations have arisen and died in the time I blink my eyes. It is changing at such a furious speed, the body as well as the universe. Which one of these do I call I? Even before I open my mouth, it has changed a billion times. Which impulse can I call I? Which vibration can I call I? However, when I experience this furious change happening constantly, I could see that it is happening on a substratum which is changeless. Because for any activity to happen or any change to happen, you need a base. And which base has to be a unmoving, constant, solid base. For waves to take place on the surface of the ocean, there is this foundation of the deep ocean which is unmoving. For me to be able to run on the earth has to be there, solid and unmoving. If the earth is also moving, I cannot run. So you always need a solid, unmoving, stable foundation for any activity to happen. So that's what he said. I saw that this furious activity is going on a substratum, which is a changeless, unaffected, ever-existent substratum. That is reality. This is not reality. The body is not reality. The universe is not reality. That reality is the reality. That reality is what Vedanta calls as Brahman. So there are many people who have reached that stage of moksha and have narrated this. So that is Anubhuti, not my and your Anubhuti at this point in time, maybe someday. But many others have experienced it and confirmed this. Vedanta Upanishads are full of it. Even in real life, there are many examples of this type. So the real I is Atman. Don't forget the powers of Maya. Veiling, projecting. While Maya cannot impact Ishvara, but Maya does impact Jiva. Because Jiva is limited. Ishvara is the boss. Jiva is limited. So the veiling power of Maya affects Jiva, and Jiva is not able to know its real nature, that I am Atman. That fact that I am Atman is hidden because of the veiling power of Maya. So Maya affects me, and my knowledge of my real nature is veiled. Veiling, we call it as avaran, and my not knowing my real nature is ajnana, ignorance. So I suffer from avarana, and because of avarana, I do not know my real nature. Although I am Atman, but I do not know it. Till we came to Vedanta, we also did not know it. We came to know about it in Vedanta. But do we really know it? As I said, knowledge will happen only when you actually experience it. Till that time, it is only a borrowed knowledge. It is Vedanta's knowledge which has come to me. It is not my knowledge, not my experience knowledge. So my knowledge is covered, is veiled. That is ignorance, or called ajnana. The second power of Maya is projection. So it hides my real nature and then projects a false nature. And this jiva believes that I am these bodies, not that Atman. So avaran and vikshepa, projection and vikshepa, these two powers of Maya which affect me makes me deluded. I get confused between the real me versus the projected me. And I believe that projected me to be the real me and not the real me as me. So I, who's of the nature of Atman, Brahman, become this deluded jiva of three bodies with reflected consciousness in it. If you remember that we took an example of snake and rope. Remember that? And I told you, Vedanta cannot, no discussion in Vedanta gets over without snake and rope. So what did we discuss? That there's this piece of rope lying. The light is not enough. So I mistake that rope to be a snake. Right? Now what is the reality? Reality is rope. But what do I see as? It as snake, which is the projection. Why do I see a projection? Because the reality is hidden from me. Because I do not know it is a rope. So the moment the reality is hidden, mind projects, which is the Maya in mind projecting something else. And I believe that it is a snake. And then it has its own effects. I feel fear, I run away, etc., etc. happen. This is exactly what happens with all of us. The reality is something else. I believe it is something else. And that creates all those ups and downs and emotions, sorrow, joy, etc. in me. Because the mind then starts projecting different things. This is what happens to Jiva. Real I is that Atman, eternal, infinite, unaffected, but I take myself to be this bundle and then go around in the world. This deluded Jiva then owns up everything as me and mine. So when things happen, I claim that I am doing it, although it is being done by the body and the mind. But I claim I do it. When I do something, an experience comes. It's the mind that experiences through the sensory functions. But I claim I experience it. So I become a doer, I become an experiencer. Now in Bhagavad Gita, in chapter 3, Shri Krishna says to Arjuna, Guna guneshu vartante, matva na sajjate. Now what it means is that what is happening in this universe is nothing but gunas interacting with gunas. What is gunas? Sensory functions. Remember, sensory functions are made of gunas, sattvic aspect of gunas, interacting with objects or beings of the world, made of the same sattvic aspects or rajasic aspect or tamasic aspect of the same gunas. It is gunas interacting with gunas. I have nothing to do with it. Wise know it, fools do not. If once I understand this, once I realize, then I know what is going on is mind body interacting with objects and beings of the world. I, the Atman, has nothing to do with it. It's because of me that they're able to do. That's a different issue. But I am not affected by it. I am not the doer. I am not the experiencer. Doer is the mind body. The experience is the mind body. So this is where the confusion arises. And then as Karta and Bhokta, I start collecting impurity. I already had avaran, that is veiling, because of which ignorance. I already had a projected reality called adhyasa, delusion. Now I have impurity because I have owned up those actions and the experience to myself. How this avaran happens, we will discuss when we discuss vasanas. How does this mala happen? This impurity happens. We'll discuss when we discuss vasanas. So now the jiva has got three problems: ignorance arising out of avarana, that is veiling; delusion arising out of confusion or projected reality; and impurity of mind arising out of my being a doer and experiencer. Spiritual journey is going from this deluded, limited jiva to that real identity called Atman or Brahman. So going from this lower I to that higher I, from this small I to that capital I, from this deluded, ignorant jiva to that fully aware, fully conscious of the reality stage. Once that stage happens, why should I do this? Why should I'm fine, I'm doing fine. Why should I do it? What Vedanta tells me is that if I reach there, which is called moksha, it will have two results. First result is while I am living. So while I am living, it promises me two things. It promises me three things. Atyantik dukkha nivritti, which means cessation of all sorrows. Once I realize I am that infinite, unlimited, eternal, complete Atman, all sorrows end. The second thing it promises is Paramananda Prapti, unceasing, without any cause, bliss without which is not dependent, independent, unceasing, causeless bliss, which is my nature. That I would experience. Third is Nitya Tripti, that is, I will be ever contented because I am complete. I am the only entity. When I am complete, I am ever contented. So while living, once I reach that stage, I will continue to live even beyond that stage. But after that stage, I have no sorrows. I am always eternally in the state of bliss and contentment. That is why I should do it. There's another benefit that comes out of it, which is that after death, there is no more rebirth. So that constant cycle of death and rebirth and death and rebirth. What did I say? That the subtle body comes out of the gross body and on death. So this has happened with us millions of times from the beginning, which means subtle body doesn't die. Which means the subtle body that I have today was there in the past in some other gross body. Even before that in some other gross body. From the beginning of time, the same subtle body has been going through the cycle of birth, death, going into a body, coming out of the body, going into a body, coming out of the body, sorrow, joy, etc., etc. Cycle is continuing. Only stage it will end is the day I realize my true nature. And that is what is called moksha, liberation, freedom. What hurdles we come across, what are the tools and techniques to reach there is going to be what we are going to be discussing in all the remaining sessions of this series. First, we need to understand what is Jiva, what are the problems, and now we discuss going forward, how do we tackle these? How do we come out of this and reach that ultimate goal of oneness with my true nature? This is what we will discuss now in future. I hope things are clearer compared to last session. There's one more question I see in chat box.
Thank you. Even I have a small question, Vinod.
Yeah, okay. Go ahead, ask. Yeah, go ahead and ask.
Swatantra here. Can I?
Yeah, ask the question.
फर्स्ट थिंग बहुत अच्छे तरीके से बताया. पहली बार पता चला हु एम आई, एंड गॉड ब्लेस यू फॉर दैट. आई हैव वन स्मॉल क्वेश्चन. ये आपने योनि का बताया कि 84 करोड़ योनि है. हम बचपन से पढ़ते हैं, सुनते हैं कि 84 लाख योनि थे, 84 lakhs.
84 करोड़.
और यू 840 million. Am I right?
84 करोड़, 840 million.
नहीं, 84 लाख. हम बचपन से पढ़ते आए हैं कि 84 लाख योनि है, नॉट
कहीं
84
84
करोड़.
लाख का, कहीं 84 लाख का रेफरेंस है, कहीं 84 करोड़ का है. But that's all.
अच्छा,
That's all in stories.
84 दशलक्ष is right, which is 84 crore. That's
Yeah,
what we know.
many traditions have different numbers, but idea is that plurality versus singularity, individuality.
Okay.
Versus
Thank
one,
you.
Advaita.
Okay.
What doesn't matter whether it's 84 lakh or 84 crore or 840 crore.
Huh.
The idea is that we need to go from this individuality to
Right.
that true nature.
Excellent. Thank you.
Any other question? We can still handle that for 5 minutes.
I have a question.
One small. Okay.
Sorry, go
Yeah.
ahead.
So one of you decide who wants to ask.
You decide.
Okay, so let's want to ask the question.
Okay. So Vinod, it's not really a
Because Devaki has
question
already asked
on.
her question earlier.
Okay.
So
So
you-
wanted
Okay.
to ask you, are we going to discuss going forward about anything to do with being what we call sthita pragya? Is the word that you haven't used by far, but are we? I mean,
So Sthita Prajna is the let's say state you reach after realization. Once you are realized, you are Sthita Prajna. After that, because you continue to live, so your state after realization is that of Sthita Prajna. What is that
that's-
state? We will talk about.
right. Okay.
I just give you a
Alright.
glimpse.
Correct.
That you have no sorrow, you have eternal bliss, but the person still lives in the world. So how does he live in the world? That is Sthita Prajna. So we'll talk about it. It'll come later.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah,
Thanks.
Devati, you had a question.
I'm struggling to understand the purpose of Maya. Why does Maya exist?
Why does the talent of singing exist in a singer? It's there. It's an unmanifest power of Brahman, which Brahman decides to manifest just as a singer manifests singing, or painter manifests painting. Or
So
the
it's an
child makes the
urge to
castle,
express.
Or the child makes the castle. Why does he do it? There's no purpose. Just because that hidden talent is there, it comes out.
It seems to cause a lot of trouble. That's why I'm wondering why.
Trouble from you and my perspective, not from Brahman's perspective.
But an ocean can stay an ocean without waves. Why is the ocean compelled to have waves?
If you notice, waves are not entirely caused by the ocean. The external influences that cause waves.
Yes.
In this example, but in case of Brahman, there are no external influences. In case of Brahman, it is just manifestation. You can say it is his recreation. He's entertaining himself. And in the bargain, we feel that we are real and we are the. So let's say one of the examples I gave in the beginning was that the world is nothing but the dream of Ishvara. When I create a dream, in deep dream phase, there's a dream that I create. I create out of whom? Myself. Who's the writer? Who's the actor? Who's the set? Everything is me, myself. I become the set, I become the actor, I become every single character in it. I write the story, I write the end, I write the everything, right? Why am I doing it? It's just mind entertaining itself. It's creating. Mind has that trait of constantly wanting to experience something. So it
So it's
creates
not
its
very
own.
still then. There is an urge to constantly express.
Yes. So the moment you have a power, that power will always seek manifestation.
Okay.
If you pay attention to yourself, if I pay attention to myself, if I have a power, that power constantly seeks expression. I may decide not to express it, but at sometimes you say, okay.
So is moksha the cessation of expression?
No, moksha is not a cessation of expression. Moksha is the cessation of you taking yourself to be a real character.
Okay.
Brahman's dream and expression will continue, but it will not impact you. Because today I am taking myself to be the real actor, to be the real role. Let's say I am an actor and I'm playing a role, right? If I confuse myself with the role, then I will go through the ups and downs of that character. If I constantly remember I am an actor different from that character, I am unaffected.
Mm.
So moksha is detaching from that character to the actor. You are a Brahman. So go back to Brahman. You are unnecessarily taking the character in the role to be yourself. And because of that, depending on the type of character that you're playing, you're going through those ups and downs and emotions and happiness and sorrow, etc. If it turns out to be a pathetic role, you'll go through a pathetic experience if you associate with the character that you're playing. So Brahman is playing these multiple characters, but the character and the actor is getting confused, and that is what the confusion needs to be ended. You need to go back to that state. So you need to visit the green room and say, look, I am actor, not the character.
Mm.
So moksha is basically owning back your actor status rather than the character status.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So we were Brahman to begin with. We were
We are
the
Brahman.
true. We
We
are
are
Brahman.
Brahman.
You still
We are Brahman.
Not
Yeah.
we were Brahman. We
We-
are Brahman. Unfortunately, I have assumed myself to be something else.
Right. So initially, when creation started, we were Brahman, right?
We
So
are Brahman even today.
we are
Even
Brahman.
now, right now, you are Brahman.
Yeah.
It is not. That's the thing. It's a confusion that arose, but which confusion persists even today. Idea is to end this confusion.
So when we
I
were
was Brahman.
Yeah.
I am Brahman. I will continue to be Brahman. The superimposition that I put on myself is all that I need to shed.
So why did God create? Ishvara created when we were the true self. We were the true Atman. We were complete by itself. You know, we were whole package by itself. We were part of the Brahman. Then why created this whole play?
Revati asked the same question, and I just
Same
answered
question.
the question.
Yeah.
Just because that power is there, so power seeks expression, and Brahman expresses it. You can say Brahman's own recreation, his own entertainment.
On entertainment.
Like
And
in a dream. In a dream, for example, as I said, the multiple roles I play. Who plays it? Myself. But while in a dream, I'm not aware that I'm playing the role.
just because God was bored and created this
You can say that.
facade.
You can say that, yes.
plus
And
we
in the
cannot
Bhagavad,
we
In
cannot
the bargain,
ever
we
forget that
diluted,
there are
we diluted effort.
99.9% people who are very happy with the life that we are living. It's 99.9. So don't talk for everyone,
No,
because we may
even
think
that is
we
still
have
an
sorrow.
illusion.
There are people who don't believe they have any sorrows. They are enjoying life.
Even
like
that is an
anyone.
illusion. That's even if you feel very happy, that still is an illusion. It's part of the dream, it is not reality. Reality is that you are that unaffected Brahman. Brahman has no ups and downs.
And once enlightened person reaches moksha, so are they in a different realm? Or they just go and merge in Brahman,
Yeah.
or
So
become Brahman?
okay, it's early to answer the question, but let me answer that briefly. So what happens is when you realize, you have realized experientially, not just by like listening to me, you come to know something. By listening to a teacher, I have come to know something. That's only intellectual information. You got information, but you don't feel that way, do you? You don't feel as Atman, you don't feel as Brahman, right? The realization is when you reach that stage, you actually feel, right? Today, how strongly do you feel you're human? You feel you're human, right? Same thing getting replaced by I am Brahman. That natural feeling that I am Brahman. When you reach that stage, thereafter, nothing that is happening in the world, nothing that you are engaged in, do you take that to be real? You understand it's my body doing it, it's my mind doing it, it is happening. I am not doing anything. I am just witnessing it. So it does not affect me because I do not attach reality to it. I know I am Atman, I am Brahman. So I reach that stage of what Shwarna referred to as Sthita Prajna, who's unaffected by the ups and downs, the vagaries of life. They still go through it because the body is still there. So realization happens while you're living. It does not happen on death. Realization happens when I'm living. It can happen only when I'm living. Because after death, I cannot realize. So after realization, also continue to live. Why do I continue to live is another point which will come up when we do Karma Siddhanta. Then when death takes place, so this is called Jivana Mukti, that I have gained mukti, that is liberation, from subsequent births. Hereafter, I will not be born again. So I attain liberation from births. That's called Jivana Mukti. But my body and the world around is still there, and I'm still interacting with the world. At that time, I'm in a different state of mind. So my approach to the world, the way I interact is different because I know all this is only let's say an illusion. The reality is something else. But when that person dies, the gross body ends, as it ends in all cases. That person's subtle body merges with the total subtle body. So that subtle body ceases. And because the subtle body ceases, no other birth. So at that stage, it's called Videha Mukti. That is liberation from body. That thereafter, that individual, that jiva, will not have rebirth. Because now that jiva has merged into totality. He's become Atman, or he's become Brahman. He was always Brahman, but he has now realized that he is Brahman. So since he's realized that individuality is dropped, today I have that sense of individuality, that I am what I am. That sense of individuality drops. I have always the totality, but I have imposed upon myself this limited entity. What I'm doing is that I'm dropping this limited entity. If I drop this limited entity, I was always a part of totality. I was always the totality. I was always Brahman. It's not that I've become Brahman. Even right now, that's why I'm insisting that you are Brahman even today. It's only that you believe that you are this limited individual called Namita Kapoor. Because this is what you have conditioned yourself to. When you are born, did you know you were human? As a baby, as an infant. Did you know you are male or a female? Did you know you are Namita? All these came to you. But now you strongly believe that this is what it is. Right? Similarly, I'm giving you a new input, but you don't strongly believe that I'm Brahman. So first you need to decondition yourself. Then own up your real status. Then you can be Brahman. You've always been Brahman. But you have been given some other identities, entities, etc., and you've taken them to be seriously. This is what I am, that limited individual. And it's not this life. It's been going on for life after life after life. So you need to decondition. Remove that confusion from your mind. I was Brahman, I am Brahman, I will be Brahman. This limited entity that I imposed on myself, I need to get rid of. The moment I get rid of it, I'm Brahman. I have superimposed a snake on the rope. I need to get rid of what? The snake, not rope. I am rope. I need to remove that snake. So that is what the exercise is all about. Now the snake has to go. Then rope will become rope. Rope was always rope. When the snake goes, does the rope become rope? It was always the rope. Only because of confusion, the rope became a snake. The snakehood is gone. Rope becomes rope. Rope was always rope. It realized it's a true entity. It's a very subtle point. You need to, when you think about it strongly, it's also something new that has come our way. So we need to take time, reflect on it, to understand, grasp it. That yes, what is being said is absolutely right. That I have conditioned myself over life cycles to be this limited entity. So it has become so deep rooted in me. What Vedanta is telling me is something it's not appealing, it's not fitting in, because I'm so deeply convinced that is not reality, this is reality. And that is what Vedanta is trying to repeatedly tell you. This is not reality. That is reality. Remove this limitation from you. You are that infinite, unlimited, eternal entity. You are not that character that you're playing. You are that actor. Character is temporary. And depending on the type of character you're playing, you will have those ups and downs, emotions, etc. Don't get associated with them. Become aware that you are the actor who is unaffected by the character. So own up your actor status, not the character status. Okay. So okay, we exceeded time, but I suppose it's been worthwhile. Okay, so now next Friday, I am not going to be able to take the session because I'm traveling and I'll be in the Himalayas, so I'm not sure that network will be there or network will be reliable. So next Friday, we will skip it instead of having a disturbed session, or I may not even be able to have a session. So I will now see you all Friday after next. And from that session onwards, we start on the journey as to how do we change this, right? Okay, so let's end today's session. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamadachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Ishwararpanamastu. Hari Om. Have a nice fortnight ahead and see you Friday after.
Hari Om.
Thank
Hari
you.
Om. Good night.
Wonderful session.
Thank you. Thank you.